Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and thanks for spending some time with me today because in this video, we're talking all about design mistakes that we all notice, but we're too polite to tell everyone about. And I'm also gonna share with you how to fix them. We can avoid them happening to your home. Now, the first thing I noticed, the first design mistake I noticed right away when I enter a space is the light and how dark most spaces are. I want to enjoy spaces that are light and bright and beautiful, or just have really great lighting in general. And it's usually also nice to enjoy a space if there is a cute little puppy dog there to whisper in your ear, but that's beside the point. We love spaces that have great lighting because you can see better, the space is just more enjoyable, it feels brighter, more open, larger, and fresher. So, how do you make your space feel lighter? It depends if it's during the day or during the evening. Now, if your space is dark during the day, it tells me that you either don't have your blinds open, right? That's an easy fix. Or maybe your drapery is too heavy and covering too much of the glass on your window. Those are some mistakes that are easy to fix. And yeah, they require a little bit of creative solutions, like what alternative window solutions can we look at? Could you do a Roman blind? Do you need to do a different type of blind in the window? Or do we need to go oversized on the drapery? That's always my personal recommendation. As a general rule, when we're picking drapery, I want the fabric and the rod to be outside of the bounds of the frame of the window, right? So I want it to be bigger, more oversized. These are wall treatments, not specifically window treatments. So take the drapery rod a little higher, the midpoint between the top of the window frame and the ceiling, or maybe you take it up a little higher to the ceiling to elongate the lines of the space. All of those are good things to consider, and they will allow more of the natural light to flow through the space. What you can also do, like maybe your window treatments are not the problem, okay? Maybe they are oversized and they're hung perfectly and it's still a little dark. It may be the height of the furniture or the placement of it. If you have a piece of furniture that is blocking out all of the light from flowing through the space, of course you're not going to see any of it. So that may be something you have to think about and give some consideration to. Alternative lighting sources are of course always welcome. And that's the key to remember when it's a little bit darker. It's late at night. Okay, we're having an after hours party at home. We need to have good lighting, alternative lighting sources. I need to have a lamp in every corner. At least that's the bare minimum. There are so many types of lighting you could add to your space. Yes, table lamps are the easiest answer. Floor lights are great. You can also do task lights, like floor lights that are task lights that have a pivoting or rotating head on them. That's always a really good solution there. Overhead lighting, you can get battery operated lamps to put on tables. I personally love a light that projects lighting onto a wall of some sort. So, this could be art light. This could be all sorts of things. But having that light not be a direct bulb that you can look at and see is going to make it softer, easier to enjoy the space and look at. And it's not a glaring, harsh bulb. That's also uncomfortable. You can have too much lighting in a space, especially if we're looking at a naked exposed bulb. It's going to be very harsh and quite uncomfortable. So if you want your home to feel welcoming, inviting, make sure it's light and bright and that we can actually see the space and enjoy it. Plus, we can take in the great view that you may have. Or we can look at the bad view if you don't have a good one, but that's also beside the point. Now, another design mistake that we all notice, and actually a lot of people don't know how to fix, and that's okay, is when a space looks cluttered and messy. And usually when a space is messy, it's not specifically messy. Like if you tell me messy, I'm assuming it's like there's stuff all over the place and just things on the floor and a bag of trash waiting to go out. Like that's messy to me. But when a space looks cluttered, oftentimes it reads as being messy. A lot of times this is about just having too many small pieces of decor, too many throw pillows, too many busy patterns in one space because it can feel overwhelming and it just feels like a lot. Also, some of the things that will contribute to a space feeling messy is having cords and wires that are exposed and sticking out. We can see extension cords and those sorts of things. So maybe a little bit of cable management could be a good friend to you. I could tell you all day, like, clean your house, okay? That's not gonna answer all your problems. It will solve many of them, trust me. But sometimes it can be about everything is beautiful, everything is perfectly placed, but it's all just too overwhelming for the space. So you have to be able to pare down a little bit. Something a lot of people love are patterns. Like if you're a pattern person and you love patterns, you will probably embrace multiple of them. You need to break them up and have a solid in that space. That can make a space look messy. And that doesn't have anything to do with an actual mess. But sometimes, yeah, maybe it does look a little messy because you have that extension cord and the wires and the TV cables and all of that stuff hanging out. When a space feels messy and cluttered, It feels heavy, it feels weighty, it feels like there's just so much, it's so overwhelming. I need to visually rest, so having a little bit of negative space is also a good thing. Having your home not look cluttered and messy is about paring down or doing something that's more of a solid to break things up and provide a more visually grounding element that people can focus in on and distract from a lot of the busier pieces in this space. Your home looking cluttered and messy may not be about an actual mess, it might just be that the space is just visually overwhelming and we need to pare back a bit. And I understand that sometimes it's just difficult to know what you're doing wrong or how a space feels. And if you want my help, it's available to you. You can always book a one-on-one virtual consultation with me. I can tour your space virtually and give you some feedback on it or some of my opinions. So be sure you check out the link in the description box down below or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic and I'll see you over there. Another mistake I often see, and maybe it takes a little bit of, self-reflection to understand, is when your space or your home looks dingy. I don't mean dated, I don't mean tired, I mean that it just looks like it hasn't had a good refresh in a while. So this is the point where I'm gonna say, yeah, maybe you clean your house up a little bit, dust the baseboards off, let's get the corners and make sure we've wiped everything down. What looks really dingy to me is when I see scuffs on a wall, I see those marks on it from where you've touched it, from where there's a little bit of discoloration. We need some self-awareness here, and let's give it a good clean and a good wipe down. Sometimes it's as simple as the dog likes to brush up against that part of the wall and it needs to be cleaned off because maybe it has a little mark on it or a scuff. Also, what I see all of the time is if someone has a drywall island in their kitchen, okay? If you have a drywall island, usually when you're sitting there, sometimes your shoes will touch it, your knees will touch it, and it gets discoloration there. And you don't necessarily notice because it's under the overhang of an island, but a lot of people do notice. That's a good area to give a nice clean and refresh to. And yeah, a part of your house looking dingy is about let's vacuum off the sofa, let's give everything a wipe down, let's get the carpets cleaned, okay? Like cleaning an area rug, that's a great way to improve and refresh your home. Sometimes what makes your house feel dingy isn't even just visual, it's maybe scent-based. So we need to get a cross breeze in here. Open up the windows, get some fresh air, get it refreshed so it doesn't feel stale or like the air is stagnant. Those are all really good ways to refresh your entire house without having to change anything or refurnish, redecorate everything. It's just about updating and keeping up the maintenance levels on some things that are the most hard-worn areas in your home. I expect to see it to an extent because, like I said, they're the most hard-worn areas, but we have to be self-aware and we have to be looking out for them and taking care of them. And this, once again, is like cleaning the windows. The outside of the windows are gonna get dirty. They're outside. That's what the whole point of the outside is, right? Let's take a moment and just give them a refresh and brighten it up and clean them so that we get more light in the house and it doesn't feel dark, dim, or dingy. Another design mistake that we all notice, but maybe it's a little bit harder to answer or come up with a solution for, is that your home feels a little bit lifeless. Your home feels a little bit generic. It feels a little bit bland. You can over-decorate your home. You can absolutely do that. And sometimes this is like what I would call hyper design, where we have plotted and we've made a course for everything and the design is just absolutely meticulous. Every single thing is perfect. Sometimes perfection can be boring. Sometimes it is, and sometimes you need to have a little character, you need to have some life in it, some personality. Not everything is always going to be 100% the most absolute perfect thing. Okay, that's what we do for a model home, all right? That's what you do when you stage a house for sale, right? We want it to be perfect. We want to sell the fantasy of that moment. But there's a difference between a house that you view and a house that you live in, right? Some of the best photographed homes don't actually live that well. And sometimes the most comfortable spaces to be in don't photograph good at all, but they feel really good when you're enjoying them. So don't let your home be something that feels like it's overly decorated, like it's too perfect, because it will feel a little generic. It'll feel a little lifeless. Does somebody live here, or was it staged for the magazine and that's it? I want to know something about you. Your home is a story about the people that live there. So let's hear the story. I want to see it. I want to know what's going on. Sometimes it's about having family photos or mementos from your travels out. Those are all okay. They tell us something about you. Don't let your home be lifeless, because it's going to be a beautiful space, admittedly. Okay, it could be gorgeous, absolutely stunning, but that doesn't mean it's real. That doesn't mean it's enjoyable or that people want to be there. Embrace who you are and the things you actually do in that space and you enjoy to make it feel like it's a real lived-in home and it reflects your personality. We've reached the point in the video where every other content creator would ask you to subscribe, and I would appreciate if you did, but I want to let you know that whether you've hit that subscribe button or not, I appreciate you being here and watching and tuning in. So I want to say that I see you out there and I appreciate you hanging out with me. Now, another design mistake that I notice all of the time, and it's maybe not something you see, but it's something you feel, is when a home is uncomfortable. And there's a lot of reasons a home could be uncomfortable. The atmosphere and the energy could just be awkward. And I don't like that. Nobody does. And it's kind of like, why do I feel this way? You know what I mean? When a home feels uncomfortable, it usually has to do with the furniture layout. And a lot of people would say, this is the flow of energy. They may say it's feng shui. It can be all of those things, certainly, but sometimes you just need to readdress, where is the furniture placed and what is it saying about the space? Is it inviting? Does it feel welcoming? Or am I getting like the energy of like, this is a wall, block here, you don't want to enter that space? Also, how are we sitting there enjoying the space? Can we all see each other? Can we all talk to each other? Does the conversation flow? That has to do with your furniture layout. So let's make sure that seats are all either angled or looking at each other, across from each other, and we don't have things where it's uncomfortable to turn and look at somebody. I would definitely recommend checking out my furniture layouts video. I will link it at the end of this one so that you can get creative with the placement of your furniture and the pieces you have. Once again, it also might just really help to talk to a designer that maybe has an outside opinion that doesn't have any sort of preconceived notions about how you use the space to see what will work best for you and enhance that space the most. But don't let your home be uncomfortable, because nobody wants to hang out in an uncomfortable space. And we all know it, we can all feel it. Like I said, sometimes it's just the energy. Something about it is off. We're like, I don't know, is it the furniture layout? Is it the flow of the energy? Maybe the house is just haunted, okay? Like, maybe that's the problem. When the house feels uncomfortable, it's a design mistake, and we all know it because we can all feel it. The next design mistake I notice all of the time, and it's less of a problem, but still more of a problem, I guess you could say, is when nothing matches. When you feel like nothing in a space matches, it has that feeling of being cluttered and busy and overwhelming visually, because you're noticing all of these different things and it's all kind of just a bunch of stuff. And it can often have the feeling of, I just went out and I only bought things that I liked. Whether they made sense, whether they went together or not, if I saw it and I liked it, I bought it. Or it can feel cluttered, it can feel busy, it can feel messy, because there's so much visual movement, so many different things to take in. The reason your space feels that way is because of the color scheme. We need to be more cohesive about the colors we're using. So take the color of the chairs and the sofa and the accent and the throw pillows, narrow it down to 3-ish colors. Find a pattern that has all of those colors in it, and then you can maybe do an accent pillow in that. We need a solid. Let's bring in a rug that has those tones. Now all of that stuff that used to just feel like a big mix and mess of everything, all of a sudden makes more sense and feels more intentional. And the same thing goes for wood tones. I like to stick to 2 different wood tones in a space, and I will usually want 2 of them that are very similar, like a lighter and darker version of the same wood tone. If you have more than 2 wood tones, I'm not telling you to throw them out or get rid of them or it's a design mistake. We're talking about design basics. And so if you want simple and easy, you narrow it down to 2. But if you have more than that, we just need to repeat the wood tone even more so that we now have more consistency and more flow and we see more of it, so it feels more intentional. You can use wood in accessories to tie those tones in together. A decorative storage box in a wood tone. Carved figurines, you can do wood picture frames, you could do a wooden chair. So many different things. But if you feel like nothing in your home matches, it says to me that the color scheme is not strong enough and not consistent enough. So we need to either eliminate a handful of things that are really pulling distraction from that, and then we maybe need to replace them with things that match something else in the space. For example, in my living room here, I mix different shades of blue. I do it in my dining room as well. So I start with a fabric that I like that has multiple shades of it, and then I can pull all of them out together. But if you just had 2 pieces of blue that were next to each other, it might not make perfect sense. You can even look at my shirt here, right? This is a blue and white stripe, and my little tie has different shades of blue in it. There's a little bit of the same blue that's on my shirt in the tie. So all of a sudden it feels like it makes more sense. That's what you have to do to make your home not feel like nothing matches in it. Well, there you have it, everyone, and thanks for spending some time with me today. Now that you know some of the design mistakes that are making your house uncomfortable, be sure you check out this video right up here, all about living room layouts and how to get them situated so it doesn't feel uncomfortable. And check out this video right here, all about some finishes you should never use in your home to avoid it looking and feeling dated or just impossible to take care of. Be sure you check it out, and I will see you over there.